When you think about our medications, maybe supplements, we usually focus on what's in them, right?
Mm.
The active stuff.
Yeah, the main ingredients.
Exactly. But let's take a step back. Think about the capsules themselves, the empty ones holding everything together.
Yeah, the delivery system, often overlooked.
Totally. And it might surprise you, but the global market, just for halal and kosher empty capsules, it's set to hit something like USD 920 million this year alone.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty hefty number. It really it highlights how important catering to specific dietary and religious needs has become. In pharma, in nutraceuticals.
Right.
These certifications, halal for Muslim consumers, kosher for Jewish consumers, they basically guarantee the capsules follow their religious dietary laws. No pork gelatin for halal, specific processing for kosher, thing like that.
Absolutely. And it's not just about religious rules anymore, is it? I mean, we're seeing loads of people, vegetarians, vegans, looking for these labels too.
Exactly. They want to be sure they're avoiding any animal products like gelatin, which is, traditionally common.
So our deep dive today, it's based on a 2025 market report. And our mission really is to get a handle on this specialized packaging market. Where is it now? Where's it going?
Sounds good.
So, okay, 920 million this year. Impressive. But what's the bigger picture, like the growth down the line?
Well, the report suggests really strong growth, actually. By 2033, they're projecting the market will reach, get this, USD 1,616.5 million.
100 million. Wow.
Yeah, that's a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of about 7.30%,
That-
starting from 2025.
Okay.
And what's really driving this, or a big part of it, seems to be this increasing demand for clean label products.
Clean label. We hear that term everywhere now.
We do, and it basically means consumers want, simpler ingredients, more natural stuff, transparency about what's in their products, and that definitely includes the capsules.
Makes sense. So it's bigger than just the certifications. It's part of this whole conscious consumer thing. All right, so let's break it down by region. How does it look geographically? Who's leading the pack?
Okay, so North America, they've got the biggest piece of the pie right now. Over 37% of the market in 2025. That translates to about USD 340.40 million.
37%. Yeah.
And their growth, the CAGR, is projected at a pretty steady 5.8%.
Solid.
Within North America, the U.S. is, well, it's the main player, about USD 268.58 million market size, 5.6% CAGR, and that's really pushed by demand for plant-based options, plus the halal and kosher needs.
Right.
Canada's significant too, around USD 40.85 million, same 5.6% CAGR. Their nutraceutical and pharma industries are expanding, so that fuels it. And Mexico's showing good potential, USD 30.98 million, but with a slightly higher CAGR of 6.3%.
Okay, so North America strong, makes sense with that big consumer base. What about Europe? How are things looking there?
Europe's number 2, holding over 29% of the global revenue. That's about USD 266.8 million in 2025. Their growth rate, the CAGR, is a bit higher, actually, 6.3%.
Okay, interesting.
And you've got some key countries really driving that. The UK, for instance, about USD 44.82 million market, but a strong 7.1% CAGR. That seems linked to the vegan trend and clean label demand over there.
Right.
Germany's actually got a slightly larger market size, USD 52.83 million with a 6.5% CAGR. And there's a really noticeable preference for non-GMO organic products, which affects capsule choices too.
Yeah, that tracks.
Then you have France, Russia, others contributing as well. It's fascinating how, like you said, these regional tastes, even for things like non-GMO, show up even in something like a capsule.
Definitely, those details matter. Okay, let's shift focus eastward. Asia Pacific, what's happening there?
APAC. This is where things get really dynamic. Market share is around 24%, so roughly USD 220.80 million in 2025. But the growth, a whopping 10.0% CAGR projected.
10%, wow.
Yeah, it's significant. India is a standout, looking at an 11.9% CAGR. Singapore is also very strong, 10.3%.
Incredible growth rates.
Absolutely. China is a huge market, of course. USD 92.74 million, growing at 9.5%. South Korea, which has a sizable Muslim population, USD 26.50 million market, 9.1% CAGR. Even Australia is showing healthy growth, 9.3% CAGR on a USD 11.48 million market.
That double-digit growth across Asia is
Yeah.
really something. It really points to how quickly those markets are adopting, preventative health supplements and also adhering to dietary laws.
Precisely. It's a major engine for the whole global market right now.
Okay, so we've covered the big three regions.
Yeah.
What about South America, the Middle East, and Africa? Smaller shares, I imagine, but are they growing too?
They are, yeah. Currently smaller shares, like you said, but the growth rates are definitely noteworthy. South America holds just over 4% of the market, about USD 34.96 million, but growing at 8.0% CAGR. Brazil and Argentina are leading there.
8% is still pretty strong.
It is. The Middle East, similar market share, also around 4%, valued at USD 36.80 million this year. But their CAGR is even higher, 8.6%, driven by places like Saudi Arabia and the UAE.
Makes sense given the populations there.
Exactly. And Africa, while it's the smallest share currently, about 2.2% or USD 20.24 million, it's still projected to grow at a solid 7.6% CAGR. South Africa is a key market within that.
So really, it's a global phenomena.
Yeah.
Growth pretty much everywhere.
That's the picture, yeah. A consistent upward trend across the board showing this demand for specialized capsules is really globalizing.
Okay. So the report also breaks things down by capsule type and who's using them, the end users. What are the key takeaways there?
Right, segmentation. So by type, gelatin capsules, they still dominate the market share.
The traditional ones.
Yep. Mostly because they've been around forever, they're cost effective, they're pretty durable, pharma industry standard for a long time.
Okay.
But the vegetarian capsule segment, mostly HPMC or starch-based, that's the one seeing the fastest growth.
So that fits with everything we've been saying.
Exactly. It perfectly mirrors those religious, ethical, dietary concerns driving the overall market. Then, looking at end users,
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals and biopharmaceuticals, they're the biggest users right now, which, makes sense. Most prescription meds come in capsules.
Sure.
But again, the growth story is interesting. The food supplements, the nutraceutical segment, that's expanding really rapidly. People wanting functional foods, clean label supplements. It's boosting demand there significantly.
So gelatin's still king by volume,
Yeah.
but veggie options are where the momentum is.
Got it.
Okay, so let's talk drivers. We've sort of touched on them. But what does the report pinpoint as the core reasons behind all this growth?
Well, it boils down to a few key things. First, pretty straightforward. The growing global populations of Muslims and Jews. That naturally increases baseline demand for halal and kosher compliant products, capsules included.
Demographics, right?
Second, as we discussed, the rise of vegetarianism and veganism. That's a huge boost for the plant-based alternatives. And third, just this general global trend towards health consciousness. People taking more supplements, focusing on wellness. That lifts the whole market, especially for certified options.
Yeah, those feel like really fundamental shifts.
Mhm.
Okay, but it can't all be smooth sailing. What about challenges? Any restraints holding the market back?
There are a couple of main ones mentioned. One is cost. Producing those plant-based alternatives like HPMC capsules, it's generally more expensive than making traditional gelatin ones.
Right, the materials or process.
Bit of both, usually. And that higher cost can affect the final product price, which might limit how quickly they're adopted, especially in, more price-sensitive markets.
Okay, cost is a factor. What else?
The certification itself. Getting and maintaining halal and kosher certification, it's rigorous. You need compliant raw materials, specific production lines, strict process controls, ongoing audits. It can be complex and costly for manufacturers.
Yeah, those standards are no joke. Makes sense. It could be a barrier.
Yeah.
All right, so looking forward then, what about trends? What's shaping the future of these capsules?
Some cool stuff happening there. Tech advancements in the capsules themselves. Things like enteric coatings, so the capsule dissolves in the intestine, not the stomach, for better drug delivery or fewer side effects. Also, work on improving bioavailability, how much of the active ingredient actually gets absorbed.
So smarter capsules.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And another big trend is just access, the rise of online retail. It's making it way easier for consumers anywhere to find and buy supplements with the specific certifications they need. It opens up niche markets.
The Amazon effect, basically.
Yeah.
And finally, who are the companies actually making these capsules? What's the competitive scene like?
The report calls it highly competitive. You've got a mix of big global players and smaller regional companies all vying for market share.
So lots of players.
Yeah, and innovation seems key to standing out. The report gives a couple of recent examples, like Lonza brought out enhanced HPMC capsules in 2024, apparently more stable and better suited for halal kosher. And Qualicaps launched some natural gelatin capsules also in 2024 with a neat self-locking feature.
Interesting
It
development.
just shows the industry is constantly trying to improve and cater to these, diverse and evolving demands.
Okay, so a really dynamic space, competitive, innovative, it all points towards continued, pretty significant growth for these specialized capsules. Let's try and wrap this up then. What are the main takeaways from our deep dive today?
I think the big one is just that strong, steady growth projected for the halal and kosher empty capsule market. It's not a small niche anymore,
Right.
and that growth is really fueled by this powerful mix of things.
Yeah.
Growing religious populations needing compliance, more people choosing vegetarian or vegan lifestyles, and this wider global focus on health, wellness, and clean labels.
A confluence of factors.
Exactly. We're seeing growth everywhere, but especially strong momentum in regions like Asia Pacific. And while gelatin still has the biggest share for now,
Vegetarian options are clearly the future, or at least a rapidly growing part of it.
precisely, they're gaining ground fast.
It really is fascinating how these tiny components, empty capsules, reflect such massive global shifts in, consumer values, ethics, and health trends.
Yeah, it really is. Which actually brings up maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, given this strong growth, especially in certain regions, and this undeniable shift towards plant-based, what other innovations might we see? Could there be completely new materials coming? Or maybe even new types of certifications to cater to even more specific needs down the road?
Interesting question. Beyond just edgy or gelatin, what's next? Something to think about.
Definitely feels like a space to watch.